on time. So I want to respect your time because I know that we have a long, long night ahead of us of study. I'm not sure how much I'm going to make it through, just putting it out there, being honest, And usually I go to sleep, try to get in bed by 9:30. Usually that always work, but I try. But we'll see what we got going. Vivian, what are we drinking tonight?
Coffee.
Oh, coffee. So you're getting ready for the long haul tonight then.
I'm getting ready for the long haul.
Wonderful. Good. I have a Pellegrino left over from last night, so it's already a little flat, but that's okay. I like it. It's good.
And I just made a fresh pot.
Made a fresh, fabulous. I love it. Made a fresh pot. We're all coming over for coffee. So we're gonna just jump right in. My name is David Eshel. I'm one of our rabbis at Wilshire Boulevard Temple, and it is just so wonderful to be here with all of you. Yes, it's virtual, but at the same time, it still feels over this last year connective. I'm not sure if that's a good thing that it feels that way, but I'm going to lean towards yes, it does. It is a good thing that it feels that way, that we are able to join each other. And I know, we have Jeff is in Vegas, Merle's in Scottsdale. So we've got people from all over the place, which is fantastic. I mean, and Stephanie Heisler's coming from the furthest away, Northridge. That's far.
I'm just saying hello. We're in Sedona.
Oh, you're in Sedona. Oh, excuse me, in Sedona. Okay, well that's good.
We escaped for a few days.
So as we're gonna study some Torah today, why don't we start with a blessing? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shekichanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah, to soak ourselves in Torah, as my nursery school kids like to say. We're gonna soak ourselves in Torah. So here we go. Let's see what I got here. I wrote down a bunch of stuff for me to refer from as we go through this. To be honest, I was not sure of what the turnout was going to be like, whether it was going to be a webinar, whether it was going to be a discussion, or a meeting, or any of those kind of things. So if at any point while I'm talking or whatnot, you have questions, concerns, comments, please stop, raise your hand, unmute yourself, say something. I want to hear what it is that you have to say. He's ready. Stanley is ready. He's like, all right, whatever, Eshel, just get to it. Stop with the chit chat. So I will. So the title of this evening is my cousin Jacob. Talking about my cousin Jacob and an opportunity at this time of year to reconnect with family, right? My cousin Jacob, and a time for us to reconnect with family, and what that means as we start to really see the light coming out of this pandemic. My 13-year-old daughter just got her first shot today. So that is very exciting. Fine. I'm like hovering over her, watching, make sure she's okay. And she's like, Abba, I'm fine. Just leave me alone. Are you okay? Let me see a Band-Aid. Does it hurt? But so the way to kind of reconnect with family as we make our way from this time of the pandemic. So I'm just going to read some stuff to you. And again, please, I'm just gonna fix this so I can see you. Interrupt, raise your hand, any of these kind of things. Jeff, you already have a question, or you were just waving?
Just waving.
Okay.
Pulling you off stride. I have to do something.
Yeah, you got me. Okay. So first, I want to tell you a little bit about my family before we get to my cousin, to my immediate family. So my mother was born in a displaced persons camp in Germany after World War II. She has two brothers, my uncles. Her father had 9 siblings and 10 times as many cousins. After the war, my mother's family went to Israel. My mother's family went to Israel. Her father's surviving cousins went to Canada. They all had families of their own, who had families of their own, who had families of their own. My father was born in Israel in a small town just outside of Haifa. And he was actually born in 1935, which was, it predates the state. And his parents were also born in Israel. My father had 2 sisters, both had families who now have families of their own. My father passed away when I was 15, and my mother remarried a wonderful man who had a son of his own. And when I was 25, he adopted me. So now I have a family of my own. I have an amazing wife, 2 beautiful children, and through marriage, I now have family, my wife's family, from small towns in Middle America. My wife's from Omaha, Nebraska. Right? We have more Jews at Wilshire Boulevard Temple by like 4,000 than in the entire state of Nebraska, but I happened to find one at the Hebrew Union College. So from Israel to Canada to Nebraska, through blood and through marriage, we're all related. All of these people I'm related to. Some of these people I know, right? Most of these people I don't, but regardless, they are still now my family. Now, I know that could be confusing, and I'm sure that we all have very intricate, confusing family connections, dynamics, and from all over the place. But that's really nothing. Let's consider the fun song that we sing at countless religious schools and summer camps across America. Wherever you go, there's always someone Jewish. You're never alone when you say you're a Jew, right? Yeah, you know that song, right? Right? Stephanie knows that. I just got the heart from that. It's great. So wherever you go, there's always someone Jewish. The next question, what is Jewish? You ask 10 different Jews and you'll get 15 different opinions. We have Reform Jews, we have conservative Jews, Orthodox Jews, conservadox Jews, Reconstructionist Jews, renewal Jews, humanist Jews, secular Jews, traditional Jews, spiritual Jews, atheist Jews, cultural Jews, observant Jews, Buddhist Jews, not to mention add country of origin here Jews, like American, Israeli, Mexican, Persian, etc., etc., etc. 13 million of us throughout the world, famously divided and contentious about our identity, political position, social role, and spiritual goals. So, who are we? Religion? A religion is not only a system of beliefs, rituals, and actions. It's also an expression of a general truth valid for all people. So, try telling that to the secular and atheist and cultural Jews. So then, I guess that means we are a culture. Well, when we say we are cultural Jews, we often mean Ashkenazi culture. But what is the real cultural connection between a Yemenite Jew and a German Jew? So maybe that means we're a race and a nation. Not so fast. Blood and DNA are very tricky. Over thousands of years, we have had many converts and mixing of different races, all absorbed into the Jewish people. And to be considered a nation, a large group of people living within a certain territory and speaking common language, is not true for half of the world's Jewish population. So then what are we? I say we are a family, a great, big, extended family connected by strands and sinews of all these things: religion, culture, nation, language, etc. At nearly every Shiva minyan that I lead, I start by saying that we are so lucky to be Jewish. We are lucky to be Jewish because we know how to celebrate. right? Dancing and eating, and we know how to throw a big wedding and bat mitzvahs and parties, and we know how to dance, and we know how to eat, and we know how to celebrate, and we know how to eat. We do know how to do a lot of really good eating. But then I say, more importantly, during the harder times, during the dark times, we show up for each other. Right? At these Shiva Minyanim. Jews show up for each other, to lift each other up when we fall, to help each other heal when we hurt, to mend each other when we bleed and when we suffer, because this is what Jews do. This is what family does. So now I want to tell you a little bit about my cousin Jacob. Growing up, Jacob was my best friend. In my eyes, Jacob could do no wrong. Everything he did was the best. He was the fastest. He was the strongest, the smartest, the funniest. Everyone loved Jacob. Jacob was the kid we all wanted to be around, the kid we all wanted to be. But as we grew older, things started to change and our relationship started to change. I started to change. He started to change, at least I thought so. Perhaps he was the way he was and I just didn't know or didn't see it. Yes, he was smart and he worked hard, but he made his share of mistakes. He was fast and strong and he protected me from bullies. But sometimes my cousin Jacob was called a bully. I loved him still because he was my family and he was my friend. And yet, as the years went by, we grew apart. I saw him less and less. He didn't come around much anymore, and I didn't seek him out either. Once a year, I would send a card on his birthday, or he would on mine, sometimes not even that much. But I would still hear about him, his accomplishments, his success in business, in science, technology, in medicine. He was doing things few could even imagine. He was changing the world and changing it for good. And I was proud of him. Yet, I also heard some thought he was mean and confused and scared and scary and angry, and I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to reach out and reconnect, to love him and to help him, to let him know I am here and let him know that I know he is not superhuman, but rather human with flaws and challenges and loves and goodness, and I am here for him because I know who he can be. I know as much as Jacob needs me, I need him. He is a part of me and I him. No matter how much I used to deny it or ignore it, it's true. We are forever connected. Sound familiar? It should, because Jacob, my cousin Jacob, is your family too. But you know him by another name. You know Jacob by the name Israel. Israel is family. And we need to show up. But what does that mean? To show up for Israel. Right? What does that mean to show up? Here's what I'm not talking about. Showing up for Israel. I'm not talking about all the posts and all the TikToks and all the stuff on Facebook and the rallies and the screaming and the yelling and the conflict and the pain. I mean, that's not, I'm not talking about who is quote unquote right and who is quote unquote wrong, because these are my personal feelings here. When we focus on the nature of the binary nature of it, saying right and wrong, it's an echo chamber and nothing's going to move or happen. Because I think that the relationship, when we need to show up for Israel, and what that means is so multifaceted. And I want to touch on two different experiences that I have. I want to look at the relationship between America and Israel, and I want to look at the relationship of what we hear and see in the media and what we hear and see and believe to be the relationship between the Israeli and Palestinian people. So I tried something recently. Get ready for this. I opened my Google browser and started typing the word Israeli. Okay, not three letters in, the autofill wrote Israeli-Palestinian conflict, right? Not three letters in, that's what happens. Then I erased that and I said, okay, let me start with Palestinian. Not three letters in, Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Right away, the first thing you get, conflict, right? Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and Instagram and the posts and the pictures and the emails and the videos of here's why everybody is right. Here's why everybody is wrong. LA Times, the New York Times, Washington Post, Daily News, Daily Bruin, Daily Trojan, right? Everywhere. Searing spotlight on conflict. Resolution after resolution, verbal attacks, physical attacks, rockets and bombs, conflict, Israelis, Palestinians, Muslims, Jews, Christians, America, Israel, UN, dizzying, confusing, nauseating, painful, just conflict. I'm probably kind of freaking all of you out right now too. He's like, why is he got? Yeah, because that's how I feel. So here's what happened. Our task, I think here, right? It goes much deeper than any movement or resolution or demonstration. Our task is not merely how to confront the external bombardment, but rather how to face an ever-growing alienation towards Israel, even from within our own community. The Israel that we were taught as children, the land flowing with milk and honey, the land where everything is the best and the fastest and the strongest and the nicest, the smartest, it doesn't exist. It never existed, or at least was only part of the story, right? That's a better way of saying it. It was part of the story. Israel, our family, is flawed and nuanced and painful and innovative and beautiful and destructive and creative. A country of human beings, a country that is real, and it has the potential to be a bright, bright light among the nations. I know it. And we all have to do is push ourselves to dig a little deeper. Okay, this is the thing. It can't stop at the soundbite, right? It can't stop at the soundbite. A colleague and friend of mine, Rabbi Joel Simons, who is now actually part of Wilshire Boulevard Temple as we've merged with University Synagogue. He wrote something really interesting. And you know what? I want to make sure I get this right. So I'm actually going to pull it up and read it to you. There we go. He wrote something really beautiful. Get ready for this. And I love this because this is what it really means to engage. To all who suddenly have a vocal opinion about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, great. But let's ask the following questions. Are we doing research to understand the complexities? What are our sources? Are we fact-checking these sources? Are we going beyond social media? Do we know the names of NGOs on the ground who have been working for decades at reconciliation and paths moving forward? Do we know the history? Not just 1948, but before. If we decide to donate, do we know where our money is going? Will it reach those in need? What are we going to do in the days, weeks, and months and years to come, right? In 2 weeks, And we've seen this happen on so many occasions, right? On so many issues in 2 weeks when we have reached a calm and the news cycle has shifted. Will we still care? Will we still seek to find a solution? Do we have an opinion about who are the leaders that will bring about a vision of peace? Of all the conflicts around the world right now, why is this the one that is important to us? Why is this the one receiving such attention? What other international causes are we going to fight for, post about, share opinions on? Quick opinions and reposting is easy, he says. Lasting work to change the situation is hard. Let's not take the easy road, he says. Now, check this out. He writes, do we know the names of the NGOs on the ground who have been working for decades at reconciliation and paths moving forward? I'm going to take you back now to my Google search. Get ready for this. Get ready for this. Here's my Google search. So I just started typing. I started Israeli, Palestinian. I just kept the typing, and what it still said, kept saying conflict, conflict, conflict. Then I got to the word conflict and I wrote the letter C, still conflict. The letter O, still conflict. And it wasn't until I got to the second O to put out there, the second O, that everything changed on my browser. When I got to the word cooperation, right? It took all of those letters. It's hidden in there. Hidden. All of those letters to get to cooperation. Then all of a sudden, it's all the beauty and the potential and all of those striving for a better life, a better world, striving for peace among human beings. It's all there. It's all there. I want to share just a few of these. I mean, just an extra letter, and I have a list. I mean, there's an organization called Achvat Amim. It's an organization that it's bringing together Jews, Muslims, Israelis, Palestinians, Christians, North Americans together, right? To study, build, volunteer, and live together in towns, right? Throughout Israel and parts of the West Bank, right? In Ramallah, in different areas as well, to foster understanding and relationships, to create real change in the immediate world around them, right? Then there's another one, Yad B'Yad. It's a center for Jewish Arab educational schools and communities in Israel proper, right? Learning together, living together, building together. There's another, BioExplore. Jeff, you're gonna love this. Palestinian and Israeli scientists and doctors who are working together to discover healing, right? Then there's through the Hartman Institute, Min HaBe'erot, right there, from the wells, where they're bringing Israeli and Palestinian and American educators together, right, to discuss and to learn and to create curriculum of acceptance and engagement. And then there's another, Shoreshim. This one is also fascinating. It's Israelis, but some of these Israelis are like actual knitted kippot settlers with beards, right? And Palestinians who live right next door to each other, actual neighbors separated by a fence, bringing their children and the adults together, evolving to get to know each other, right? Starting to make it personal, right? Personal. It's gotta be personal. I wanna read a little piece to you from one of the leaders of Shoreshim. I mean, it's fascinating. Look, and here's the thing. I don't think this is a controversial statement. But left, right, and center, it's almost, I don't want to say irrelevant when we say left, right, when you're actually making it personal and getting to know people as people, right? Not just looking at this kind of from a top and saying Israelis, Palestinians, Americans, because it's a big, massive web of different people, even within all of those titles, if you will. So I just want to read a little piece from one of this is fascinating right here. A leader from Shorshim, his name is Rabbi Hanan Schlesinger. He writes his piece. He says, I opened the front door of my apartment and took a 20-minute walk that began to change my life. My wife asked me to reconsider. It might be dangerous, she said, but I went anyway. My heart beat just a little bit faster than usual as I walked through the Arab fields and vineyards that surrounded my home in the Judean hills. Never before had I met a Palestinian as an equal. Never before had I socialized with one or broken bread with one. I knew nothing about them. We lived so close to each other, and yet we were so far apart. For us, the Palestinians are the consummate other, the other that you ignore, that you never see, the other that you would never give a ride to, the other that you would never invite into your home, the other from whom you are completely distant, the other from whom you are thoroughly suspicious. For 3 hours or more, I chatted with them and ate with them. I looked into their faces from and saw, despite my prejudices, human faces. And I heard stories that were so different from my stories, stories that created strange, unfamiliar narratives from the same building blocks as my own narrative, but which I could not reject out of hand. The stories I heard of deep connection to the land, of exile, of suffering, of loved ones lost in conflict was authentic, and they were real. Never before had I heard such stories, and they affected me. One Palestinian man who turned out to be a very close neighbor, except for the high chain link fence separating our homes, told me of the fear evoked in the hearts of his children when they saw me with a big kippah and long beard. I didn't get it until he explained that the kippah and beard were often accompanied by a rifle. And then I began to understand. I blurted out to him, wait, you say you're afraid of us? No, we're afraid of you. It dark and there were about 25 or 30 of us left. We sat around in a circle and heard the life story of Ali Abu Awad, former militant turned nonviolent peace activist. Ali's reality made its way into my heart, and I will never be the same. Now check this one out. Check this out. Here it is. His truth has not made mine any true. Okay? His truth has not made mine any less true. My truth is still true. Rather, it has shown my truth to be only part of the complex web of the reality that you live, right? So I found that fascinating. Okay, I wanna show you something now. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen for a second. Now, it's a picture, and this may seem childish, what I'm about to share with you. This may, got you. Thank you, Jeff. This may seem childish, of what I'm about, what you might see, but please bear with me because I find this idea fascinating. Where did it go? Where did you go? Where did you? There we go. Get ready for this. You've all seen this before, I'm sure. At least I hope you have. You've all seen this before, I'm sure. At least I hope you have. I'm going to share my screen for a second. There it is. Get ready. And again, remember, this might seem childish, but please bear with me with where we go with it. Okay, you see this picture? What is this picture? Who could tell me? What is this a picture of? What is this a picture of? Stanley, did you say something? What is this a picture of? Unmute yourself.
It's a rabbit.
Stanley, unmute yourself.
Okay, it's a rabbit over on this side, and it's
a duck.
A duck or some sort of birdish type being. And the other
Some sort of birdish type. So we have a duck or rabbit. We have a duck or a rabbit, right? How many of you have ever seen this before? If you're frozen, you've seen this, but okay, you've seen this before. Yes, it's a duck or a rabbit. A rabbit is a duck or a rabbit. There are people who say this is a duck. This is just a duck, and it's never going to be anything else but a duck. This is the duck. Oh, really? Oh, really? That's a rabbit. And there's nothing that is always going to be a rabbit. That is a rabbit. Don't ever tell me this is a duck. No, it's a rabbit. It's a rabbit. It's a rabbit. It's a rabbit. Or it's both, right? The way that we look at it, our perspective of it, and it's like both exist at the same time. Both of these truths can exist at the same time. It doesn't make one less true. I'm learning that. I'm wrestling with that. Right? I'm learning that. I'm wrestling with that because I don't know what the answer is yet, but I know it can't stay the way it is. The rabbit and the duck, both of these stories are true. Now, both of these truths are no less true. Now, I want to share something with you. I want to talk about our role as Americans, as American Jews. I think Rabbi David has heard me speak about this before. I'm going to share with you one of my passions, one of the things that is most important to me. When we talk about Israel, and if we just push ourselves a little bit more to add that extra O into cooperation, right? You're going to find thousands and thousands of people who are engaging in the moral and spiritual challenges and feel empowered to build the Israel that can inspire us, right? And strengthen an Israeli society. Thousands of Israelis, thousands of Palestinians, thousands of human beings doing this every day. It's sort of like, during the high holy days when we're sitting there thinking about our own imperfections, right? Our own imperfect lives, our own mistakes that we've made. We ask God, we ask people to give us a chance. We ask, please don't check out on us. Don't give up on us. I hope that we can grant Israel the same thing that we ask for ourselves. We're not going to give up, but we need to make it personal. And I think it starts also with us, we as Americans, right? In our own relationship with Israel. And it's no secret, it is no secret that today, right, the relationship between the Israeli community, Jewish community, American Jewish community, and again, that's a generalization to use those words because there's so much, it's made up of so much, right? Rabbi David can speak to that beautifully. So can Risa for sure. Especially with young people right now in their, late teens, early 20s, or even early 30s, that the relationship is fractured, right? We are looking at the new Pew study that came up. It said, well, it's there, the relationship is there, but it's fractured because of all the bombardment that they get left, right, and center all over the place, from the internet, college campuses. But here's the thing, I really believe this. This is the thing that I believe, that our progressive movements, reform movement, conservative movement, we actually have the answer to fix this relationship. We have it. And it's actually been there all along, and we haven't tapped into it. But the answer is there. It's there, and it's beautiful, and it's intimately connected to the relationship that Israel has with itself, within its borders and surrounding neighbors. And get ready for this. It has to do with our movements, summer camps. It has to do with our movements, summer camps. And here's what I mean by that, right? Whether it's the URJ, whether it's the independent camps, whether it's Ramah camps, all of these camps bring hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of young Israelis to our North American camps every year. Between reform, just between the reform and conservative movement, is over 750 Israelis, young Israelis. And who are these young Israelis? I mean, these are, and especially to come to our camps, right? Whether conservative, whether it's reform movement, right? In Israel, again, this is a generalization. The perception is you're either secular or you're religious. So just by the sheer nature that we are not Orthodox, those that will sign up to want to come to our movement's camps are going to think of themselves as non-Orthodox, some secular, maybe some traditional, maybe some other. But what I guarantee is when they come to us in America, it's unlike anything they have ever seen in their lives, right? Unlike anything they've ever seen in their lives. They think these 700, and these are the people who aspire for true leadership, too, right? Because they have to go through rigorous training, many, many interviews, right? They have to have all these different qualifications. So these are already natural leaders, these people. They have it in them that just needs to be nurtured, right? So they come to America. What happens? They think, right? For some of us here, we've been to their training, right? We've been to their training, and they think that they're coming to Israel, to America, to be these shlichim, these emissaries. We're going to teach Israel. We're going to teach everybody about Israel. What happens? They come to America and they learn, wow, wait a second. There's other way to express my Jewish soul. There's other ways of expressing my Judaism, and something awakens in them, right? Wait a second, women reading from the Torah? What? Right? Wait a second. People can pray and sing together, and we can create new things together. It never fails that something is stirred and awakens in them, that they're like, what is this? This is amazing. So how do I know this? From firsthand experience, because for the last 20 years, I've been going to our summer camps from the Wilshire Boulevard Temple camps, the Camp S. Kramer and Gilling Hilltop camp, right? For the last 20 years. And every year we bring all these Israelis, and I see it firsthand. It never fails. We have women, multiple women who will read from the Torah over there, will become bat mitzvah, will share their experiences. We have the men who are like, we want to lead service, we want to lead tefillah, we want to be able to express, we want to create together as shlichim with our American counterparts, and the Americans and the Israelis are creating this new experience together, right? Now, here's what happens next. The summer ends and they go home. And more often than not, they go home and they're like, I want to continue this. I want to do this. Something new has been awakened in me, but there is no system set up by our movements to reach out, connect with these young people, right? There's no system yet in our movements to connect with these young people and introduce them to all the tremendous, amazing, wonderful, brilliant teachers and congregations of our movements in Israel, to meet these people, right? So I was like, I got to check this out. I wanted to see if there was actually something that could be done, or if it was even something that they wanted. If these Israelis, when they go back to Israel, they're like, all right, maybe for the first couple of weeks, I'll explore this, and then it kind of is, or is there something real here? It's sort of like, when kids come back from camp, they want to do they want to do, motzi and birkat hamon, right? They want to make sure we do the Shabbat, and we're doing all these things, and then slowly but surely, it's until the next summer. So here's what I did. First, I was like, I want to try and get in touch with all of the Israelis that I've been with since my last 20 years. At this time, I did this research. I started this research, so 5 years ago. Actually, now say 2015, I had a hunch. So I got the list, which was nearly impossible to get the list of our own shlichim, because we didn't keep the best records, but I managed to get a list just of our shlichim from friends of mine in the Jewish agency, because they're not even allowed to give out that information. They can't even give the information to the kids who came to my camp. They won't give me the information. So I had to try and go, and they sent it to me. They weren't even allowed to. But I got a list of 200 people. And I sent out emails on Facebook group within 2 days. Within 2 days, I had 175 people on a Facebook group talking to each other. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. I like it. And there were people on the Facebook group who knew each other from Israel, but had no idea that each of them had come to our camps, right? Because they were that many years apart, right? And it was family, friends, and all these other. So I was like, all right, there's something here. So when I went to Israel in 2016 2015 during the training in May, training of all these Israelis, and we did a reunion. And of those 175 from my list, 150 came to this reunion. And okay, I thought we were just going to be in a bar, and we were going to be in a, stories and whatnot, No, they wanted to do. So at the end of our camp night, we always do Shema Hashkivenu, right? We do Shema Hashkivenu. They wanted to do Siyum. They wanted to do Israeli dancing. They wanted to sing songs. They wanted to, and here they are. We have 150, these young 20-something, and now even 30-somethings, where they bring their babies in a bar in the middle of Petach Tikva, no less, because the bar that we were going to be in Tel Aviv closed like 2 days before we were in our reunion, like literally closed the doors. We found a place, Petach Tikva, whatever, singing and dancing and dancing and singing. And one of the Israelis, so at the end of our siyum that we do at camp, somebody always speaks. So one of the Israelis asked me, he said, Rabbi Eshel, can I speak? I said, yeah, go ahead. And he said, these are so two experiences that happened to me that night. One guy, he says, I don't know most of you, but I know all of you. I don't know most of you, but I know all of you, because of the shared experiences and the growth that we had from our time in the summer. And then another young woman said to me, she's like, I thought that I would never get to experience this again. My Jewish soul was awakened in the summer, and when I came back to Israel, it just fell back to the status quo, and I never thought I was going to ever get to experience this again. Thank you. And my heart was broken. Thank you. And my heart was broken that she didn't think she would ever experience that again. And here's the thing. I was like, there's something here. What they learn, right? And who they become, both with our camps, and they bring that back to Israel. I believe that the best of who we are as American Jews is seen at our camps. I believe that the best of who we are is seen at our camps. So if we are able to bring the best of what we are, teach to them, right? Share with them, they bring that back to Israel, then that relationship is symbiotic and it continues. And then you see these values that are so important to us now eventually start to permeate through progressive communities all throughout Israel, guided by these young people, right? So I decided to go to Israel. I took my family, we went for 3 months to do some research. I wanted to see if this was like, it was a nice experience and I just want to leave it in America, or do I want to create something that's uniquely Israeli? And the vast majority, 95%, I would even say, of these people said, we wanted to take this and create something special here in Israel. And I want to feel connected to all of these people. I don't want to even just the Hess Kramer people. I want to know the people who went to all the URJ camps. I want to know all the people who went to the Ramah camp. I want to know the people who went to the Independence or because this is thousands and thousands and thousands of people over how many years that we've been sending shlichim, thousands of people who have friends, who have families. And we're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And if they all understood that they weren't alone, that they could create a kind of massive collective voice, that they would have real power to help create and instill beautiful change, relationships, right? So I say it's like it's multi-web, multi-fringed web, if you will, and it's all connected. We have to push ourselves to move past the headlines. We have to, in our Google search, add that extra O to cooperation. We have to try and not be overwhelmed by all the noise and the screaming and while yes, embracing, understanding, and feeling compassion for hurt and pain all over the region, right? We have to work against the extremists on all sides, because it's these small numbers of extremists that create the fear and the bloodshed and the pain. And I think the way that we do that is through these relationships that we build here in America with these Israelis who go back, and we understand that there is an Israel that we can love and be a part of and help grow and create, right? I'm not saying that we ought to move there tomorrow. No, that's not going to do it, right? But it's helping to nurture from here, which then goes there, nurture within to create something really beautiful and powerful, right? To understand that our truth can exist with other truths, and it doesn't make our story and truth any less important and necessary. So with that, I understand we are definitely coming to a close. I want to thank you all for coming and hearing about my cousin Jacob. I hope I didn't trick any of you. I'm sure that how many of you knew I was going to talk about Israel when you saw my cousin Jacob? How many of you thought I was going to talk about Israel? Really? Maybe not. Okay. How many of you thought, oh, when he started talking about his cousin, I see what you're doing there, Eshel. I see what you're doing there. You're talking about, right? You know, what we're seeing and experiencing right now and being far away is very painful, and we may feel we don't know what we can do. I wasn't planning on sharing this, but I have to share this last little thing that happened to me the other day. So my friend Shael, I call my brother from another mother, we've been at camp together since 2008. Right? My kids call him their Dod me Ramat Gan. Right? This is their uncle from Ramat Gan. So we've been having just recently trying to get in touch with each other on the phone, missing each other. I step outside. It's like 5:30 p.m. here. I step outside to make some phone calls, and my phone starts ringing. It's 3:30 in the morning in Israel, and it's Shael. Shael, what are you doing? It's like, yeah, the sirens are going out, and he lives in an area called Florentine, and you blow on his apartment, it'll fall over. It's this little, so he was standing right outside of his apartment, trying to calm some of his elderly neighbors, and they were sitting and they were talking, and we could hear things going off above his head, and he just wanted to talk, and he thought this was a great time to catch up, and here we were talking, and then I'm talking to him about an hour, and I'm getting a text from my wife. It's like, because she didn't know that I was on the phone with Shael. Right? She thought I was just going around making dinner. And she's like, are you going to come in to make the tuna fish for dinner? We're having tuna melts that night. You coming in to make the tuna fish? I didn't answer. Then she writes back, I made the tuna fish. I didn't answer. Then she's like, okay, are you going to come in? Eli and I are going to have tuna fish. And I still didn't answer. She says, we finished the tuna fish. We finished. And I'm thinking, it was like, how in the world, because this is how in the world can I say, yeah, Shaya, let me call you back. I got to go in to make the tuna fish. So I'm going to be going inside for a little bit. He's there walking around, and there's, the Iron Dome and other missiles are going off, and, not too far from where he is, and you can hear it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. I'll call you later. I just got to go make some tuna fish. And I had this really crazy feeling. I was like, I am sitting here thousands of miles away. How do I wrap my head around what's going on with my family on so many levels? There's got to be something, ways for us to engage. And I really believe that there are, right? Making it personal and understanding the truth can exist with other truths as well. It doesn't make ours any less valid. Did anybody count how many times I said tuna fish in that last few minutes? Because it's probably a lot. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining me this evening. You are in for a phenomenal treat for all the other wonderful teachers coming up right after. So I'm not really sure where to send you, how to send you, but I think you all know where and how to go from here. And if you have any questions, concerns, comments, want to talk to me further about this, different ways that you can engage, different opinions that you may have, you want to talk, please feel free to reach out to me. Please. You can reach me on our website. All the information gets to me, all the emails get to me. You can call me through the temple and all that kind of wonderful stuff. So with that, I say goodbye to everyone, and Chag Shavuot Sameach. Go enjoy your cheesecake. Enjoy some, take your lactate pills beforehand, Jews and dairy, but that's what we do. It's okay.